Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's July 27th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And we had a nice downtrend today, and then we had a break or close outside, move to a new low, and we reversed. We actually had an overshoot here, I believe. It's possible it was a little lower, but even if you move it down, you still get the overshoot. But I really think it's here because notice how we bounced off those lows multiple times. Um, so I think we just had a big overshoot right here. This thing got really weak again, just very similar to yesterday. Just out of the blue, it kind of gets weak, and you get this big sell-off. And once we started going lower here, this was where the downtrend really started here. Measure that, and you look, we get almost a perfect measured move down. That would have given you this target. Um, so that was the target down here around 21.52 or so, a little bit lower. And then notice that really from about noon till 1:15 or so, there's no trades marked. That was during the FOMC news. Generally, I won't take a trade that last hour of lunchtime before that. Even though you can see the price action still worked, we got a break of the channel right here, moved to a new low, and then we reversed. And you got a reversal pattern here. So, yeah, everything worked out even during that's the thing, even during news items, the price action still works, but you can see how wild it got here. And I think you're better off just to stay out of that, and you kind of wait till it settles back down, and you got to bounce off the trend line here, and it went higher. And so, yeah, pretty good trading day. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's about normal for this time of year. 7 or 8 trades. And then I've got one kind of aggressive trade here. I'll describe that one when we get to it. Um, but yes, it was really good trading day, really. If you caught this is the high of the day, and if you caught this, any runners would have been safe, and you could have ridden this thing all the way down. You got another chance to get in right here. Um, it's questionable if you'd have probably caught a runner here, depending on how you entered. If you entered with a stop, one tick below the signal bar, which you can't really see it, I'll back out in a minute. You may have gotten stopped out before it went lower. So um, depends on how you entered there. But let's back out here, make it a little bigger, and talk about the trades. But when I came in, we were obviously in a trading range. Your overnight lows were really down here, but this is where you got most of your support in the overnight, and then this is where most of your resistance was. And you could see that that was holding. We had a trend line working up here when I came in. You can see that. You got 2 legs down on the close outside, moved to a new high. Perfect setup. And look how bearish that is. It's a little one tick that ticks up. You may not be able to see it, but it ticks up against above all those matching highs right there. And that's a failed break higher. You've already got a break of this little short-term trend line. There's really some support across here as well. You got plenty of room. This thing just takes off. Then you get a little 2 legs back right here. So you could treat this as actually, notice this is a new high. It pulls back first entry, then you get a lower high and a second entry long. It fails. Just go short right there. And you're looking for it to test these lows, maybe test these lows, and off it goes. And at that point, you would have been looking for a measured move there. There's leg 1, and then there's leg 2, and you can see we got a couple of ticks more. It broke lower, and then it bounced. You don't really get a close outside of this one, and no overshoot, although on range days, it's not out of the norm to just get a reversal. But usually if you're going to just get a reversal without a retest of the low, then you'll get an overshoot or something. So, but anyway, we're correcting here. And this one's real close to being green, but I still left it red, and I'll explain why. You had this, earlier I had this right here. and it may actually be there. It still fits there, uh, but then we start coming up short down through here. So in the end, I think it was right here, and then this was just an overshoot, or actually a little lower than that, because you can see we bounced off that all the way down. So I think it was over a little bit, but anyway, early I had it right here, and I just moved that up to the top and expected that if we got a setup right here, that's probably where you want to go short. Only problem is you don't really, you got a little trend line working higher here, and you don't have a break uh, outside it. But notice you don't have a break in a new high. But if the trend line's there, you may not get a new high. But look what happens. This thing is holding, and you get an overshoot, and you get two swings right there. And I drew it off that bar, and then it pushes down right there, and you get a slight close outside, and then it goes back up, and it really confirms that trend line and turns back down and gives you a very bearish bar. So I like going short there, and that's a higher low than that. So really, pull back first entry, then you get a higher low, even though it didn't break higher. That's a second entry short. It's a form of a second entry. So for that reason, because of the little overshoot and all, and the fact that it did get a close outside and attempted to go higher, while confirming this downtrend line, I still like that one. Just looking for it to come back and try to test this low and maybe try to get a retest of the low. And what do you know? It just keeps going. And so, again, you wouldn't have had a runner on this, but if you caught this one and probably this one, you probably would have had a runner here. And it's too bad we didn't get like a little breakout pullback short here that was within this channel, but you just don't have room for it to break higher, really. And that shows how weak it is, that no bar can ever break higher. You finally break higher here, but I don't think I'd go short right there, right back into the low. It would have worked, but it's not worth risking. And then you get a little close outside, move to a new low, and then we just kind of go sideways. We can't even rally here. We can't get back above this resistance. But remember this setup right here from earlier today. This is almost a repeat pattern. Notice what happens. You got one more working up. You get a close outside, attempt to move to a new high, and it just can't get through that resistance. And this thing is just really weak, basically. So notice that you made a high right there, and then you tested it once, you tested it twice. It's a failed second entry long. So you don't really need a good signal bar. You get one right here, but you're too close to the low by that time. So I don't recommend taking that one. But because it's a trap and you got all that resistance, I like going short right there. Just look for it to come back down. And at that point, you probably would have had the lows here, so you got lots of room. And once it bounced a few more times, I kind of adjusted that. And you can see that most of your lows, your support and resistance flipping back and forth across that line a little bit higher as we moved on across. So a nice short there. We come back and you get another test here, but again, by that time, I've kind of moved this up a little bit. Actually, let me talk about this trade. I'd moved it up when we had these lower highs across here, and notice you're coming down. First entry, pull back second entry, and this one is risky, but because we're going sideways, that is a failed break lower and a fairly bullish bar on the second entry. So there's some reasons to take that, just looking for it to come back up. And you got to figure we're probably working over to this trend line if it's valid. But in the end, the market's just so weak it can't even get back over there. But anyway, that's a fairly risky trade. And then you really just don't get another setup here. You got to wait on a trap or something. And notice how it pushes down, pulls back. That's a breakout pullback short. But the reason I really like it is because you got your first two swings right there, and it confirms that trend line, and the market, and it's a breakout pullback short. It's a failed second entry long. A lot of different reasons to like that trade. Fairly bearish bar. Just looking for it to drop down and you know, at least get a scalp, but it may keep going lower. And but it doesn't. It just starts going sideways again. But notice that you got another little trading range right here. I don't have the lines. Let's just move these down. I'll just copy it and put another one back up here, just in case somebody wants to come back and review it. But notice you got another trading range working across here, and you got this trend channel working down, and you bounce. So that's your first close outside it. You get a failed break higher out of this range, another bearish bar. You're just looking for it to try to make a new low, and that's what it does. And then it bounces. And notice you got a little, trend line working up there. You're going to close out and move to a new high. But this is right into the 1 o'clock hour, so I didn't mark this one. This is really when the news came out. You know, if it wasn't for the news, that would be a red one. But I'm not even going to mark it because it's during that news hour. And I just think it's really risky. And it actually comes back and tests that line again. It gives you a big bearish bar. But this all happened really quickly. You may not have time to get in. And then, of course, it bounces. I mean, it goes crazy during that FOMC announcement. But notice you got a break, a new low, plus you got an overshoot. And look how it pushed right through the EMA. That's a reversal pattern. You get your first entry short, pull back. Second entry short, it fails. You actually could have gone long right there. But because of all those matching highs, I didn't like that one. So I waited on it to make a new high. And then it pulls back and gives you a first entry, and it gives you a little lower high here. And even though it didn't break lower, that's a second entry long, and it's bouncing off that trend line multiple times. This is a spike in the channel. And so I like going long there. And now you got room to get out before the high, which was up here as well. And this thing just takes off. That was a nice trade. And then we come back again. You get a break. It tests the trend line again. Failed second entry short. And you get a little lower high here, so I like going long. That's right into the 2 o'clock hour. But on a day like this where you didn't get to trade for an hour, you might consider taking that. It does fit our rules. There's a lot of sideways action, but you got those failed second entry shorts there. And you can really, I mean, this is basically, you could say that's a double top, and that's a pullback first entry, pullback second entry long as well. So a lot of reasons to like that trade, so I marked it. It's right at the 2 o'clock hour. But yeah, that's what I saw for the day. Fairly straightforward. Not much you can do to get in this if you missed one of these entries up here. You just have to watch it go because you never really get a chance. And even though it pulls back here and you could have had a trade there and maybe even gotten in here, it's not worth risking, because eventually it fails like this and it bounces and stops you out and you have a loser. So you got to get in the right place, or you just got to watch it go without you. Yeah, if it weren't for the news item, this would have been a great short, and even right here would have been a great short. But that was news driven, and it gets a little wild, so I think you're better off to skip those. So, but yeah, good trading day. We had some good movement. Usually on FOMC day, the whole morning a lot of times will look like this, or maybe even like this real tight stuff right here. So it was really nice to get a nice move down. And then, of course, you got the measured move based off. This is when the downtrend really started right here. And so you measure that, and you find the high here where it started lower again. And you just keep moving along until it continues to go. And once it goes, you're looking for that measured move. And the measured move is right down here just below 2150, 150, or 75 or something like that. So, yeah, really good trading day. Even though it was FOMC day, there was still some good moves here. So, but I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.